Yeah, if you see her there.
Jean-Don, all right, our final stop of what has been a very busy day. We're with this guy, Jimmy Sunseri. Tell everybody where we're at.
We're at Bellinote down the strip.
This place does a little bit of everything. Catering on site. They will visit you to your site. You've got all sorts of great brews, adult beverages, good food. So how did this become a part, before we get to the beginning of your parents and others coming to this country, how did this part of this Sunseri brand happen? What made you decide to do this?
Quite frankly, and being totally truthful up front about it, my brother and I acquired the property.
Right.
And we decided that we would rent it out. Well, we rented it out to a pizza shop. And part of the contract was that this gentleman would not by any means put any poker machines or any type of betting paraphernalia in here. Well, the gentleman put, hi Charles, the gentleman put several poker machines in here, and we brought it to his attention.
Yeah.
That it was.
We told you not to.
Yeah, we asked you not to. Well, he said, well, I can just leave. And we said,
okay.
Yes, you can, and you have our very special permission to leave.
Our blessing.
So he left, and part of the agreement was if you were late paying your rent or some other reason came up, everything on the confines, the interior of the building became our property. So my brother and I found ourselves stuck with pizza ovens, dough mixers, tables and chairs. So Jimmy and Nina went into the pizza business.
There you go.
That's the honest to God truth. Now, I have to tell you, that's not the first time that that has happened to us. Years before that, we had a piece of property across the street and we rented it to a bagel company. The bagel company went out of business. Didn't say a word. One day we came in and they were gone. They left us with all the equipment, big giant oven over there, big giant rotisserie oven, and a $2,800 water bill. So, Jimmy and Nino sat back and we looked at the situation and we decided, well, we're going into the bagel slash bread business. And that's exactly what transpired.
Best laid plans of mice and men.
Well, to be quite honest, Rob, I don't know if it was divine intervention or just dumb luck, or it might have been a blessing.
It's Ash Wednesday, so we'll say it's divine intervention.
Yes.
Listen, we grew up Catholic. I absolutely love my faith. Beautiful church, obviously, in the Strip. Legendary Catholic church. I see people eating across the way here with the ashes, and I still have to get mine. But boy, great memories growing up as a kid during this time of year. We just came from Coons Market on Banksville, the fish sandwiches, and my late mentor, Joe Dentisi, absolutely loved your family. So just so many things to connect here, and we're going to get going by going back to the very beginning. So how is it that your family ended up here in this great place that's Pittsburgh?
My grandfather, Augustino, and his two brothers, Salvatore and Michelino, came over from Sicily in 1896.
Okay.
They established a pasta vending company, a distributorship in Sharpsburg. After about a year and a half, the building burnt down. So they left Sharpsburg and they came down to Penn Avenue in what is now known as Pennsylvania Macaroni Company.
Oh, wow. So that's how they ended up down here.
That's how they ended up here.
Wow. So what year are we looking at?
They came down here on the Strip 1898.
So that's just about the time that Carnegie, Frick, Morgan, Grand Street was Wall Street. That's when all the big money, the industrial age, the immigrants through Ellis Island. This place must have been, yeah, the smoky city, but it must have been a very busy city too.
Well, the Carnegies, all those people, they needed their carbohydrates. And my family was going to make sure it was supplied to them in the form of pasta.
Munge. I don't know what you've done to yourself, but why is it that you look 20 years younger now?
Well, Rob, it's like I told you a couple minutes ago. It's the lighting. It's all about the lighting. No, it's not a secret. I had an accident.
Fell down a flight of steps.
Yes, but what few people know and what fewer people want to believe is the reason I fell down those steps was because I tripped over a cat. I tripped over a cat. I fell down 13 steps. It was, believe me when I tell you, it was a rough 6-7 months for me. I was in the hospital. That's why I had to retire. Physically, I couldn't do what I had been doing. I couldn't be here 7 days a week or 6.5 days a week. I couldn't put in the 10-hour days anymore. I like to refer to my entire lifetime as being in 3 phases. The first phase was being down the strip.
Right.
The second phase was when I was immersed in purgatory. For 10 years, I had a lot of difficulty walking, just getting around. Forget about standing on my legs for 8-10 hours a day. Well, last February 25th, I had surgery. I had more surgery on February 25th. And by the end of April, I was walking. And incidentally, I was told that I would never walk again without a cane and the leg brace. When the doctor told me that, I bet him $100 that he was wrong. It took me 10 years.
To get the money.
I still haven't gotten the money.
Come on, Doc.
But
let me tell you, so I'm looking at you and you remind me of me many years ago. You're rocking the earring. You got the little tail in the back. Show folks that. I love it. Look at this. Look at this. Unbelievable. Show them the earring. I love it. So it's kind of like, I don't know, man. You're kind of going back in time to actually have the youth that you never had, because all you've ever done from the moment you could actually walk is work. So are you actually enjoying this time in your life right now?
Rob, I'll be honest with you. From the time I first had to retire until last April, I wasn't living. I was just existing. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't walk from my porch to my front yard. But after I had the surgery, it's like I was reborn. I'm a new man. I'm doing things that I haven't done in 10 years. Simple things, walking around the block.
When did it start to turn for you? When did you say, uh-oh, I got some giddy up now, that you started to see some light at the end of the tunnel? When did that happen, and why do you think it happened?
April, and you know I'm not a religious person. But in April, I was blessed. It was divine intervention as far as I'm concerned. I was given the opportunity to walk again and to resume the things that I hadn't been able to do for 10 years.
Wow. All right, let's go back. Let's get real. That was a rough time back at the turn of the 19th into the 20th century. You know, and I'm going to tell you how I feel, and you may disagree, but you know the great Richard Caligiuri, the mayor,
Yes.
who cleaned up Liberty Avenue. And I've often said, good and bad, when we had some of those so-called undesirables that were taking care of their family because they came to this country and could not get work because they were discriminated against. You were talking about gaming and gambling and other things. And I remember Liberty Avenue at its height. The city was believe it or not, maybe a safer place. Although we've got great mayor now, great police chief, all new. I think it's going to get much better. But even though there were so many people from so many different walks of life, it really was, even through your childhood and my childhood. And I came here and ended up going to school in Wilkinsburg, so I was here every day. And I've been at KDK since the mid-'80s. Pittsburgh really was a relatively safe place, even though we had that red light district. You agree with that?
100%. That might have been the beginning of the end for downtown Pittsburgh. If you remember back then, the competition between the red light personas down there, they were sending bombs to each other. They were shooting at each other.
But citizens weren't getting hurt.
No, they were not.
Because they knew that was like their investment. People were spending money, and it was all in that one street. And listen, I'm just being real with you. I mean, I love Pittsburgh, the Cultural District, the Strip District, North Side, South Side, Bloomfield, the Hill District. But during that time, they made sure that the citizenship was out of the fray. They were safe. And we were prospering downtown. We had major department stores. You know, the town was open all night. You know, I've alluded to this, that, you know, it's sad. I mean, I see people here in downtown actually eating and walking the streets. I don't see any of that where I live anymore. And the town basically, you know, I love where I live, but it closes down at like 9 o'clock at night since the pandemic. So it's nice to get a bit of that feeling of people walking around and coming into this place and ordering and eating, you know, before dinner time. And, you know, I was at Coons Market on Banksville. There were people waiting in line for fish sandwiches. So, you know, being an entrepreneur, your brother knows, your nephew knows, you got to have traffic, you got to have people. So hopefully we can find a way with the new administration, new police chief, to get people back on the streets in Pittsburgh and feel safe while they're here.
Well, I agree with you 100% on that point.
But
as I said to you the other day when you and I were talking, if you want to ruin a good business, a good thing, let government get involved. And the best example of that I can make is the bike lanes.
yeah, I know. I got caught in one of those today and realized I was in one of them. And I was trying, and there was one of Pittsburgh's finest behind me, and I'm thinking, please God, make the light turn green. I didn't even realize. I looked down and there I was. And I didn't realize, and listen, I love people that bike, it's okay, but man, that really has sucked up a lot of the pavement.
Well, what they originally wanted to do down here, I'm talking last year.
Right.
They wanted to eliminate all the parking on the left side of the street from 26th Street all the way down to 19th Street. Parking is at a premium, period, down here.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the chaos and the effect on the economy for everyone down
Crippling. It
here?
would have been crippling.
And then what's something I'm proud of, and what most people don't realize, is the fact that for decades and decades, regardless of what the economy was doing, the Strip always thrived.
I know.
The city got the best guaranteed chunk of tax money that they could even imagine. One quick story about the red light district.
Take your time.
There used to be a gentleman that had a,
Parlor?
yeah, that's
Okay.
a good word. That's a good word, Rob.
Yeah.
He had a parlor down there,
Right.
and I was like 15, 16 years old, and the gentleman would come. At the time, I was at Penn Macaroni. The gentleman would walk down the sidewalk, knock on the window, and get my attention. And as soon as I saw him, I knew. Get him one piece of homemade capicola, 2 cases of gallons in Bertolli olive oil, and 5 pounds of imported Orecchio provolone. When he came in the store, everything was sitting at the counter for him. He was in it and he was out. Wow. But before he left, he always slipped me a $20 bill.
Big money.
Do you know how much $20 was back then?
Big cash.
I wasn't even chewing on cigars back then.
Listen, I'm more than a pretty face. Been there, done that. I got a lot of street. I'm from the School of Hard Knocks. Nobody ever got hurt, man. I mean, it was, I used to come downtown when I was in school in Wilkinsburg. I'd take the bus and I'd get dropped off and, hey, I'm coming of age, I'm a kid. It was like, you know, it was candy. It was like that, looking in that favorite penny candy store, right? All the people, the action, the movement. Pittsburgh, I mean, it still is, but man, it was an awesome place back then. Liberty Avenue used to really, man, it could get the blood boiling and the hair on the back of your neck. There was life on Liberty Avenue back in the day.
Yes, there was.
And it would spill right into the Strip. I mean, you know, people would do what they did, a lot of businesses. And you know, the Pittsburgh I remember, like the businesses on the 2nd and 3rd floor of some of these buildings, you know, that they were full of people that would spill out to have lunch. And I'm sure you guys saw that for years and still do, but nothing like you did back in the 70s and 80s.
Well, initially, what most people don't realize is the Strip in itself was a community all unto itself.
Right.
There was a drugstore down here, there were barbers down here, there were doctors down here, and the majority of all the businesses were only on the first floor. Now your second and third floors were all tenants. They were apartments. And that's really what a Strip person was, somebody who lived on the Strip.
This was like their turf.
Exactly.
But you actually had a pharmacy, dentists, doctors, lawyers, all of that stuff right here in the Strip. So you didn't have to leave the Strip. Did you ever have a grocery store other than Penmac? No?
There was never a retail grocery store down here. In fact, the first bit of retail that was ever done down here was started by Robert Woolley Sr.
Oh, wow.
He started the retail down here with his fish. And then, gradually just everybody followed. What it came down to, Robert, was common sense. People would come in the store, and I'm talking my store here,
yes,
up the street.
Right.
They would come in the store and they would see Bertolli olive oil, Progresso products, whatever.
Right.
And actually, those items they were looking at were just samples for the wholesale people to see when they came in. Well, if somebody comes in and says to you, how much is a gallon of oil? And he's willing to pay you what you say, you give him that.
Absolutely, man.
And it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew.
What do you think? And your pepperoni rolls still are what Jimmy and Nino's are all about, and your nephew stopped in just moments ago to tell him he had to move his car, because I'm telling you, it's the Strip. If you want a little bit of excitement in your life, come to the Strip anytime, day or night. But what do you think really made you guys make it work? And I want to talk about what happened with Penmac. We love Penmac, but obviously a lot of people haven't heard that story in a long time, but how you and Nino went on your own and not only made it work, it exploded. But why do you think it was the secret sauce that thing worked? I mean, really, just you and your brother, Jimmy and Nino's, and tough act to follow after being at Penmac. Why do you think it worked?
Determination.
Fear?
I was just going to say that. I was scared to death. I used to look at people, and I always had difficulty remembering names, but I never forgot a face or a voice. And I can remember thinking to myself, well, I haven't seen this person in a week. Oh, I haven't seen that person in 2 weeks.
Where are they, right?
Like, at the time I had 4 children.
Wow.
And, you have to face facts. My brother and I, when he and I went into business, the odds were not in our favor. I mean, it was like, I'll say, 80 to 1.
What year was that?
That was 1986.
Just about the time all the mills were gone. I know. Oh my goodness. What made it work then? Just hard work?
Just hard work, I mean.
And good product too.
One thing about having a business on the Strip, and I should qualify that by saying, initially all the businesses down here were family owned.
Right.
It was first generation, then it went second generation. Now it's third generation, and incidentally, no business down here has ever gone beyond 3 generations.
They say if you can get through the second generation, you can make it, because that's the toughest. But man, to think of the history here, nobody's gone past the 3rd generation.
Nope. In fact, I'll tell you what, the only original families that are down here today are the Sunseris, Stamolas, and the Woolies.
Wow. I love the Woolies. Love them.
And, incidentally, if you're going to be a Strip merchant, you just don't come down the Strip and open up a store.
No, it's not turnkey.
You have to be bred for that. And when I say bred, I mean bred.
You got to know the streets. You got to know the people, and you got to really get to put names and faces together. Because I got to believe in your life, from the time you were a teenager to where you are now, you've seen so many of those faces come and go. People, obviously, chronologically, they pass away, and they become family to you because you see these people on multiple occasions. Look, I'm still not over Joe Dentisi's death from Coons Market. With all due respect to my dad, God rest his soul, I probably think about Joe more than I do my own dad because he was such a part of my life for 30 years. And when I sit with his daughter, Jody, who's the CEO, or Frank, I see so much of him in them that I can't imagine all of the people you have lost in your life that are family, like my radio show. These people are probably closer to me than my own biological family, and I've lost some of them, and it's tough losing people. And the older we get, it happens more frequently, but you've seen it all.
Well, I've experienced a lot.
Yeah.
And I like to think it's made me a better, stronger person. And I'll be honest with you, when I first retired, since I had been down here all those years and all those hours a day, I never had any hobbies.
Me neither.
So when I retired, I didn't know what to do with myself. And so you end up doing a lot more thinking when you have idle time.
But why is it at my age, last night on the radio, I had something going on with my stomach, and it's still not right today, but I just said, there's no way I'm gonna call to have somebody replace me on the air, and they would have done it in a minute. But I just have this thing, I gotta punch through it. I've been like that my whole life. And it's one of the reasons why we both didn't have success, when it comes to marriage, because we wanted to be with our family, but we wanted to provide for our family, and to make no bones about it, type A. I mean, I'm addicted to work, I think. And that's why I'm here doing this thing with you, because it's what I do. I don't know how you've been able to dial it down. I'm gonna have to learn and listen to you, because I don't know what I'm gonna do. But it's getting to that time. I need to start having some sort of game plan in place.
Well, you and I can start to fish.
Yeah.
We can sit on a shoreline.
We can go
throw in our
right down to the
fishing
river
rod.
here.
Yep, and we can tell each other lies until we run out of lies to tell.
I know. I got nothing left. I'll tell you, I've been doing this for so long. I mean, I was thinking the other day, started off as a maitre d', busboy waiter, so I've been around people since I was 18, 19. It's what I do. I love talking to people. I love coming into the Strip. I sat in the parking lot for you for about a half hour just waiting and looking at people, and you see the young couple holding hands, cup of coffee, strolling through, looking at the big mural that's across the street in the parking lot of the Strip. And it does your heart good, because you remember that feeling of being young and in love and the future was bright. But I just hope that this journey we took wasn't in vain. I hope we did something that somebody is going to take with them, like your nephew coming in here. Do you realize what you and Nino have given him, a wealth of knowledge? I hope that I can see in my lifetime that I've been able to do that for my children or friends or family of somewhat,
Well, Rob, we only exist as long as somebody remembers us.
That's
When
it.
people stop remembering us, we fail to exist anymore. And as far as you not being able or allowing yourself to take off time for yourself,
It's hard for me.
well, part of that reason is, number one, like me, you were always working so that our families would have it easier than we did. And number two, and I know you probably don't want to admit this to yourself, you and I were both so selfish, we were afraid if we took off, number one, things wouldn't be done right.
The wheels
wouldn't
would
be done
fall off.
properly.
Yeah.
And we were also afraid we were going to miss something. Now, what that something was, I still haven't figured it out.
Well, and I got to be honest with you. I've had such a great run, and I've had amazing people. And right now, maybe the best team ever at KDK. You just don't want to let people down. When they need you, it's like, the weekends. I've worked every weekend since the mid-'80s. But I wanted to make sure that my colleagues got a chance to sleep in and watch their kids open up Christmas presents or wake up on a Saturday morning. And I got to do that too. But I always felt as though it's such a privilege to be on KDK, because I grew up, it was such a part, that soundtrack of my life, that I was never in it for money. A little note from someone would make me want to work harder and longer. Being able to promote people like you, being around the grocery business with Joe and Jody and Frank now, I just can't tell you. My life has been blessed, But I don't think you need to make excuses because you like to work either, right? It's okay to want to work, right?
It's genetics. You know, my father brought me down here when I was 13. And he didn't ask me if I wanted to come to work. I'll never forget one Sunday evening my mom said to me, make sure you get to bed early. And I said, why? She said, you're going to work tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Were you excited or scared or didn't want to? Or
I think bewildered is a good word.
like, what do you mean? I start tomorrow.
Incidentally, my father brought me down here when I was 13. I didn't get my first paycheck till I was 16.
You worked for free for 3 years.
Yeah. In fact, I pointed that out to my father once. And my father was a man of few words.
Right. Your mother did all the talking.
The enforcer.
Yes.
But
I met her at the first time. I was like, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Well, I pointed out to my father that he got 3 years free labor out of me. And his response to me, I'll never forget it, was, be glad I even considered you. End of the story. I knew that conversation was over.
Listen, my dad one time made me move a dirt pile from one side of the driveway to the next and then move it back again. And his point was, just when you think the work is done, there's more. So just be prepared, that's life.
Well, you know, I can remember thinking my father was so harsh and
Yeah, but
so controlling. I mean, one time I was sweeping the floor and he told me I was doing it wrong. How many different ways are there to sweep a floor? In another instance, and this is after I was older, I mean, like in my 30s, I used to buy all the produce for the store.
right.
Well, I came in one day and he said, you know, you bought the wrong color red apples.
What the hell?
I said, Dad, I don't understand. Yeah, you bought the wrong color red apples. What were you thinking? And right then and there I was thinking, red apples are red apples, but they're not. And what he was talking about was, you could buy a red apple that had not been polished. And you could buy a red apple that was semi-polished. And you could buy a red apple that wasn't polished at all. What he meant was I didn't buy the polished apples. And at the time, I'll be quite honest with you, when I went to buy the product, I was thinking more in terms of price versus aesthetics.
Right.
That's how much I knew.
So how many times after that, every time you went to purchase apples, did you think about that? Probably.
Every single time.
That was the whole idea.
I mean, when it came to green apples or golden delicious apples, I didn't even think about it. But red apples, and the best apples to buy were Stamilt, because they were so highly polished and so glossy.
Why do you think back to my first job as a busboy for Joe Ciro, God rest his soul, out of Wampum, PA, worked for the mob in Youngstown for a while, before he came to the Beaver Valley Mall to run Ciro's. Why are we pleasers? Why are we, and I don't know about you, I always wanted to please my dad, my bosses, I want to go longer, harder than anyone. And the money's been made, and that's not the case, but why are we such pleasers, do you think? Where did that come from? Is that another genetic thing? But you're tougher than I am, though. I've seen you lay the law down. Guys like Joe Dentisi, I've seen them. See, I would rather be the grunt, the soldier. Let me plow through it. I'll fall on the hand grenade. Why is that?
Well, you know, Rob, to be honest with you, it is, and don't be offended by it.
Yeah, I'm not. I've known you too long.
It's too easy to be a grunt or a soldier.
There you go.
If you are in charge, you have to be tough.
Yep.
And you know yourself, I'm an easy person to get along with. Admittedly, I'm miserable, but I'm still easy to get along with.
But you have to admit, I've known you a long time, you have calmed down quite a bit. I mean, you were, like Joe Dentisi, I couldn't keep up with him walking through a grocery store. And he was like 15 years older than me. I mean, head down, and I see a lot of those beautiful traits in his children that he taught them. Look, you know who's in charge. You understand? I'm around you. You don't end up growing this business by just going to, pick out apples. You got to make decisions. You and your brother Nino have been an historic family in Pittsburgh. And if people knew the entrepreneurial spirit and what you two have accomplished, it would blow them away, because they see you on the street with a big cigar or some of the old Rick Seebeck stuff that he did on QED, and you're just that fun-loving uncle that everybody would, want to know, and your pepperoni rolls on a Saturday morning. But you guys took a lot of chances in your life. I mean, and really are responsible, I believe, one of the many, but one of the big building blocks in the foundation that has made the Strip what it is today. That's my opinion of you and Nino.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. You know what? I have to be honest with you. At the time, what I was doing anyway, when he and I went into business, I was reacting. I went immediately into survival mode, in which case my children were at the very top of my list of who I was going to take care of.
And that was a constant fear. It was with me. Listen, here was my biggest fear. At one time, I was doing 5 TV shows, selling advertising in radio in Ohio, play-by-play, 7 days a week, sometimes at KDK, because I was doing my show, filling in for others. I was the first one off the bench. I went 20 years without a day off. And you know what drove me more than anything? And it was not going to happen, but in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, one night, my children are going to go to the refrigerator and there's not going to be any food in there. And you know what? They had more stuff. They had 10 different flavors of potato chips. They had everything. But I loved them so much that I just wanted to make sure they never had to want. And they turned out okay, good mothers for sure. But why do you think we have that fear of like survival mode? Like even to this day, I've survived. I've won the race. There's no more mountains to climb. But why do I feel every day when my eyes open, I got to climb another mountain?
Because you and I don't know the meaning of the word contentment or fulfilling or enough. There's no such thing as enough. You want more and more and more. And I'm not talking about money or anything. You want to top that last thing you did, the last impression you left on someone.
Yeah. And I want to get to this Penn Mac story. So what happened there?
Zero. To be honest with you, it was more there.
Was it a marriage that ended up getting a divorce? Is that close enough, or more to it than that?
Oh, there's more to it than that.
Okay. And this is years and years ago, so just a thought.
Initially, my grandfather passed away in 1950. My grandmother took him out of school. My father never graduated high school.
What year did she take him out of school?
1950.
What year would that have been for him? How old was he? You even know?
He was like 15.
Oh, God.
So she took my dad out of school, and he went into the business. And my dad's other 2 brothers, for some reason, they had stayed in school. I don't know why my grandmother picked my father. But the 3 brothers did what they did. They established the business. Well, my father didn't believe in just a kid sitting at home doing nothing.
I know.
You had to be busy.
Doing something.
So my dad brought us down here, my brother and I. My uncle brought his children down. My other uncle brought his children down. Now, it got to a point where the friction was so intense. They would argue over things such as, my son picked up that case of tomato paste better than yours did. Or the customers like my children better than they
Oh,
like yours.
jeez.
And it just got to a point that it just built up and built up. And my 2 uncles forced my father out of the business.
Now, folklore has it that they actually came to blows. Is that true?
Oh yeah. I can remember my uncle sucker punching my father.
Jesus, in the store.
In the store. The one thing about the Sunseri brothers, the 2nd generation, Nino and I are the 3rd. One thing about the Sunseri brothers, Bishop Wright could have been standing there.
Didn't matter, we're going.
If they had something on their mind, it was coming out. And it wasn't always Class B language. But I remember my uncle sucker punching my father, breaking his glasses, his face was all cut. And, I went over and made sure my father was okay. I picked up the telephone. My dad said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm calling the police. That's assault and battery." Put the phone down. "No, I'm calling." You put the phone down. I don't tell you 3 times to do anything. So I put the phone down. He said, "That's my brother. You're calling the police on my brother."
Oh, I know. It's crazy. I grew up the same way. Listen, my uncle was probably 15. My grandfather, God rest his soul, died very young. He was a gangster. He bootlegged. He did all sorts of crazy things. But my uncle actually went into a building with no bullets and a gun because he had to collect like 10 grand from some numbers that he had won. And there's my uncle holding this gun with no bullets while my grandfather's negotiating to get his money. But that's what family, it was just a different time back then. It was about survival. And even though they had issues, and my family had issues too, it's still family.
Yes.
It's sad. I don't want to see people fight, but I wish and I hope that there is, and you want to have hope, that families would not throw each other under the bus, and they would actually stand by each other through thick and thin.
Well, you know who were the biggest casualties of that friction, or whatever you want to call the fallout? Actually, I refer to it as the Sunseri Wars.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was my brother and I against them.
Did you ever have to socialize at a wedding or anything, and knowing that?
You're the second person to ask me that question in less than 24 hours.
Please tell me that other person is still alive, right?
Yeah, they're very much alive, and I prefer it stays that way.
Stays that way. But why do you think that happened twice in 24 hours? That's kind of strange, isn't it?
Yeah, it is actually.
Yeah.
But you know what I have to tell you, Rod, and what most people don't know, is that the same thing that happened between my father and his brothers happened between my grandfather and his brother.
Jeez.
Hey, Sicilians don't use a lot of tactful finesse.
I know, and it's so sad. I have certain missions and things that I want to accomplish in my life before that curtain comes down. And there are certain people that I just want to keep together, including my own children. Like, I have, my oldest is from another mother, and then I have 2 young children. And one of the things that I've been trying to get through their thought process is, look, I want all the 3 of you to be connected. I want you to grow together. I want families to be together. And I also think my oldest is a good, strong role model, because he did everything right, this kid, for my son Robbie and Eva, who literally are the best. Eva is incredible, my mother's namesake. I will never, ever be able to thank their mother enough for naming my son after my father as well, and me. But, I got children that are really kind of like touched by the hand of God. I don't want them to work like I did, but I want them to experience each other, and we can only hope you have children, grandchildren, that maybe they do dial it back a little bit. Even though we had a lot of trials and tribulations growing up, we still had Sunday dinner. We still had holidays. And listen, Jimmy, all the hard work is worth it as long as you can have some of that glue. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, 100%. And that glue only stays and maintains its adhesiveness as long as our mom is alive. When mom goes away,
oh, it's the end.
I don't care who you are. You lose a piece of that.
I'm sitting home last night, stomach is killing me, and I'm going, Mom, been gone since '05. My dad's probably going, would you shut up? You just handle something on your own. But why is it that here I am, 69 years old, and I still miss my mom? She's been gone since '05.
That's how it should be.
You think?
That's how I feel. And I know people say, oh, it's been 10 years, it's been 20 years. It doesn't get any easier.
No.
You still miss mom. If you couldn't go anywhere else in the world for safety, where would you go? You would go to mom immediately.
Listen, I'm not allowed to mention because she's too shy, but you found someone. When am I going to get to dance in the moonlight one more time and have that candlelit dinner. I never went more than a week without a female companion. I think it's time, man. Can't you hook me up? Hook a friend up here.
I like you too much, Rob. Be careful what you wish for.
I know, but I've really, listen, this is the best I've ever been in my life. I'm as pure as the driven snow. I don't do anything wrong. They used to show up whether I called them or not. I mean, they were down the street. Next. I remember my mother, God rest her soul. I'm taking one girl's jewelry off, big bowl of Wheaties, late at night, putting some of their girls' jewelry on. She said, where are you going? I'm going to brush my teeth. I got a little, she goes, well, didn't you? I said, well, I'm going to go see this other person. Meanwhile, this other person's at my house banging on the door, and my mother's like, you better let her in, the whole works. And I'm not being like trying to flatter myself, but it is what it is. And she looked at me and she said, someday you're going to pay for this. You don't play with people's emotions. Well, I have been punished enough. It's been decades. I need to get one more shot. You have to admit, there's some things to be said about being in the zone, but you got to have someone to share some of this stuff with, right? Wouldn't you think a nice dinner here at Bellinate or going over to, Jimmy and Nino's and getting a pepperoni roll and splitting it, or going to Coon's Market and getting a fish sandwich?
I don't know, Rob. The older I get,
don't say it.
well, the older I get, I think the more reclusive I become. I enjoy being by myself anymore.
Do you really?
Seriously. I mean, there's always going to be.
You're your best company sometimes, you know?
I never lose any arguments.
Listen, let me tell you what I do. This is how lonely I am. I'll put on Turner Classic Movies and I'll see like Ava Gardner or Katharine Hepburn. Because the young ones I like, but they're just too young. Like Jennifer Lawrence, they're too young. Nicole Kidman, maybe. Put them on a little screensaver, get a little glass of wine. I'm on a date night. Nobody gets hurt, no damage. But why is it that there are certain women, like I'll see Marilyn Monroe in an old movie and my heart still skips a beat. I'm too old for this stuff. Why is this still happening to me? I'm high-fiving myself when they kiss like Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn. Why am I still in love with love when I haven't been so good at it at times?
That's only your opinion, Rob.
You know what? You're the best. Before we wrap this up, so one time he gave me a big thing of baked ziti. This is when I was munching all the time. Ate the entire thing. One thing that these guys can do, Jimmy and Nino, especially this guy, nephew, they can cook. You got some of the products that you can only find at Jimmy and Nino, some of the dishes that you can only find here. But food has still been very important to you, and it's got to taste good too. You have such a gift. Your pepperoni rolls are legendary. You understand that? People, fundraisers, I mean, people love these pepperoni rolls.
It's become an institution of its own. My dad came up with the pepperoni roll.
How'd that happen?
Quite frankly, my father was always thinking. One day, he decided he was hungry for sausage.
Right.
So he fried up some sausage, threw some onions in. A couple customers came in. Boy, that smells good. Are you selling sandwiches?
No kidding.
Again, money was offered. Dad started to sell the sausage sandwiches. From there, we were making meatball sandwiches, and we were making eggplant sandwiches, and we were making Italian hoagies. It just snowballed. Incidentally, do you know where pepperoni rolls actually originated?
Mm-mm.
West Virginia.
Come on.
In West Virginia, the coal miners, you don't have to refrigerate pepperoni rolls.
Wow.
The coal miners' wives would make them pepperoni rolls to take in their lunch bucket. That's the honest to God truth.
I see you still serve Icy Light in Iron City. You know, a lot of people, and they're making a huge comeback. New ownership, what they have done, it just makes my heart sing. And I used to spend a lot of time just up the road a bit at Iron City when my daughter Eva's godfather and I used to spend a lot of time together, Joe Piccarelli. But isn't it amazing some of the history in this community? And you guys are such a large part of it, the Sunseri family. And you mentioned third generation. So if you and Nino are the third, then your nephew's the fourth. So you may be the first family that's actually survived 3+ generations. That's pretty special.
Yes, it is. Oh, as I said before, It's a blessing. It's divine intervention. I mean, Nino and I aren't going to be around forever.
I know. Neither am I, sad to say. I'd like to kick it a little bit longer.
Although,
I'm waiting for Ann Margaret to give me a call. Listen, have you seen her lately? She looks incredible.
I haven't talked to her.
So I saw Joe Namath at his brother's funeral. God bless Joe. And the whole time we're there, I know we were at a funeral, and God bless Frank, absolutely loved him. But when I left, all I kept thinking about, this guy actually got to kiss Ann Margaret on screen. He should have nothing to complain about. Forget the Super Bowl, forget all that other stuff. He got to kiss Ann Margaret on screen. You know who else I'm in love with? Is Shirley MacLaine. She's 90-some years old now. So this movie, The Godfather, because of Robert Duvall, okay, passing away. And we saw that Francis Ford Coppola wine at Coons, Banksville, and McKnight Road. And we of Italian, you the real deal, I'm a wannabe. Even though that was, you know, about some people who were into criminal activity, why do you think America and the world has fallen in love still with The Godfather? Is there any life's lessons in there?
All I can assume is...
When that movie came out, what went going through your mind? I mean, being Italian, and obviously you saw it, I know what went through my mind, and I wanted to be Jimmy Caan. Forget the other guys, that's who I wanted to be. But why do you think that movie's done so well? Especially even people of Italian heritage that you might think, but really they love this thing. And I hear people all the time like, for you the rent stays the same. They quote things that Michael Corleone or Don Corleone, you know, like the olive oil. I mean, just all the different stuff. Why do you think that? I mean, this is 50 plus years later. Robert Duvall passes away at 95. That's the first thing play Tom Hayden in The Godfather 1 and 2. Why do you think all these years later?
Well, my personal opinion is that, ironically, everybody sees a little bit of themselves, regardless of their ethnicity, in that particular family. Because, you know what, don't forget, gangsters weren't all Italian.
No.
There were the Jewish people, the Irish.
Everybody.
And everybody feels they're downtrodden. If you're Irish, you're downtrodden. If you're Italian, you're downtrodden. But they saw in these guys, they made it big, and even though they were supposed to be the bad guys, they weren't bad people in our minds.
No. And here's the other thing. I knew where I grew up. We never saw color. I mean, whether you be black or white, Native American, Asian American, we got along with everyone. And I danced with every ethnicity, dated just about every ethnicity. I mean, I look at this world today, you know, Jesse Jackson, one of my heroes, passed away yesterday, and I can remember as a kid watching this guy speak, and I was just enamored, but I didn't think of him other than a guy just trying to make a difference. We didn't see, I mean, I know I didn't see color back then, I just saw human beings.
Well, I think that if you're prejudiced or biased, it comes from our parents more than anything else.
Yeah.
So you're as biased and as prejudiced as they were.
And my parents, my mom and dad were not. My dad was born in the South. I mean, he saw it firsthand, and it just sickened him. He would go to bed at night seeing crosses burning up on the hill. And when we were raised, I mean, I'll never forget one night I had a gentleman, my classmate, stay overnight, and he left early in the morning, and he happened to be black. And my neighbor made a remark to my father, and my dad jumped up in this guy's face. I mean, look, there's so many problems in the world today, so many horrible things are happening. There's a reason this is a city of neighborhoods. It's a melting pot. Whether you're in Bloomfield or the Hill District, to me, it's Pittsburgh. We have to find a way to come together. And listen, you know better than anyone that in the Strip, when your grandfather and then eventually your mom and dad, and you and Nino, by the way, is a brilliant businessman, just like him. You depended on everyone. So you needed everybody from all walks of life. You weren't looking at the color of their skin. Like you said, they got money, come on in, it's business.
Well, you don't know the value of a man or the worth of a man's spirit until you're in the trenches with them.
Amen.
When they're doing what you're doing, you're on equal ground. That's when you find out who's who.
That's it, man. And you know, for years when the mills were booming, you had people from all walks of life working in those assembly lines, doing what they did. And I don't know, I just wish we could get back to looking into the eyes of humans for just that, being humans and members of the human race. Last thing, perfect meal. This is your last meal on this planet. You've had every type of food imaginable. What would be the last meal of Jimmy Sunseri? I'll tell you what mine is, but what's yours?
It would be one of two things. Either my mother's homemade brujol.
What is brujol? I've never had
Oh,
it.
it is wrapped pounded steak with stuffing inside.
Okay.
But it would either be that, or it would be my mom's chicken cacciatore.
Good.
And I have to tell you, my mom was Irish.
Yeah, that's what's amazing to me.
Where did she learn to make brujol that good or chicken cacciatore that good?
How did those two meet? I mean, Italian and Irish, what a combination that must have been.
There used to be a dance hall in Oakland above where the Dirty O is. And my mom lived in East Liberty, my dad lived in Oakland. And they met at this dance hall.
Wow.
And I remember my father telling me that it was love at first sight.
Oh,
My mom was married to my father when she was 17 years old.
no kidding. How old was he?
He was 21. No, yeah, 21.
Wow.
But my dad went home and he said to my mom, rather to my grandmother, that he had met this girl and he had been seeing her and that she was Irish. Well, back then,
I know.
you didn't do that.
Well, it was like my dad was French-Canadian, Roman Catholic, and my mother lived down on Deer Lane, and she wasn't Catholic. She eventually converted for him, she says. God bless her. What a wonderful woman. And her father was kind of notorious, but they made it work.
Well, my grandmother said to my father, well, what can this girl do? My dad said, she's a good dancer. What kind of response is that?
But in his mind, that's the beauty. That's what he saw,
Yeah.
you know? And
Well, you know, my mom, my dad was 88 when he passed away,
that was a sad
and
time.
my mom was 86.
Very sad. I loved her.
Up until the very, very end, we would take my mom out to dinner and my dad, and they would walk into wherever we were going or walk down the sidewalk, and they would be holding hands. You would see this very elderly couple holding hands, and we would sit down to dinner at a restaurant, and just out of nowhere, this is tough. Just out of nowhere, my father would lean over and kiss my mom on the cheek. I mean,
I know.
they only make love stories like that on the silver screen.
Listen, my dad's first night that he passed, obviously he's in the funeral home being prepped. Other than my mother having babies and when he had recently been sick from time to time, she said, do you know, this is the first time in 51 years I haven't slept in the same bed with your dad. My dad was rock solid, toughest man I ever met in my life. Only saw him cry twice. When my mother-in-law, his mother-in-law died, who he loved, my mom's mom. And I asked him one time why. I said, because when I would get drunk as a kid, I'd crawl to her house because I couldn't go home, and she'd put warm washcloths on my forehead and just pet me and say, everything's gonna be okay. He never forgot that. He also said she would make these big Sunday dinners, and we'd have leftovers that last all week because, you know, it helped us with the grocery bill. Cried, and then when his dad died. But he was tough, and my mother said to me, your dad never showed fear. I said, what about this cancer that took him in 3 months? She said one night they were sleeping and spooning as they always did, and he had his chin tucked on her shoulder, and he went, I'm afraid, Eva, I'm afraid. And I thought to myself, my God, my dad's human, because I always looked at him with that Navy tattoo, those big hands, larger than life, you know? And I used to always say to my dad when he would get sick, I go, are you dying? Are you dying? So we're at the medical center, and he's got something going on, and he's coughing up blood in a hanky. And I'm like, I'm a grown man. I'm in my 40s. I got kids. And I said, Dad, are you dying? And he went, I literally put my head in his lap and cried like I was a child. So
We are children. But when it comes to our parents, we are children.
I know one thing. I love my kids, man. I don't think they have any idea. You know?
They never will.
No.
And that's...
But can I tell you, I talk to my mother. This is terrible to admit this. Probably why I'm single. I talk to my mother every day. On the phone, even if it was for 10 minutes. I mean, every single day till the day she died. I mean, that's got to be something going on in my head. But I was just so loyal to her. Maybe to a fault, I don't know, but I love this woman. Oh. And when I met your mom that day and I was up top in that office, I went, you know, if my life has to come to an end today, what a better place to be. Because your mother was so full of life and so much history. And I thought to myself, imagine how hard they worked to make all of it work. And then they handed...
Especially raising us.
You guys must have been hellions at times. And I'm sure there was some bickering at the dinner table too, because that's the pecking order. It happens. I mean, one night my parents went to the Elks dancing. My 5 sisters, I was driving them so crazy. They got a bunk bed guardrail, that piece of wood so you don't fall out of the top bunk bed. And they had me pinned up against the wall and I'm screaming. The cops showed up. I mean, and my mom and dad would come home and go, what are you doing? But somehow, some way. And my dad, he would get grumpy over the littlest thing. Sunday nights, you stayed away from him because he had to go to work. Friday nights, man, it was like the belt of the ball. And if you didn't get to my house by 5 o'clock, you had to pay a cover charge. But they would go dance every Saturday night. Dance cheek to cheek. Up until he got sick, they were at the local Legion, the Elks, dancing, getting dressed up, going out. I'd see them holding hands, sitting next to each other, when they were married like 40 years.
Yeah, but you see, that proves love is eternal.
There has to be that somewhere. Obviously, I have issues, not like I did, but I'm better now. But there's got to be somebody for everybody. You got to believe that. I mean, because if you look at those two people, where they came from and what they had, he's 22, just back from the service, she's 20. And sadly, most of the children have not been successful at marriage, and maybe because we thought it was going to be like that. Because no matter what was going on, no matter the argument, the next day was a new day.
Yeah. Well, I remember, you talk about sibling rivalry. My brother and I would fist fight.
Oh.
And my mom and dad sat us both down. And they said, you are not allowed to fight outside of the house. You're going to fight, you come home.
Wow.
So
keep it in the family.
The very next day, I come storming into the house. My brother comes storming into the house. We start to fist fight in the house. So, you know, my mom smacked us around a little bit to get us under control. And she said, why are you fighting in the house? Well, you told us we're not allowed to fight outside.
Listen, I had 5 sisters. There was a few things that my dad didn't put up with. Don't ever talk back to your mother.
Oh, God.
And don't lay a hand on your sisters. And they took advantage of that. But a couple of times, we duked it out a little bit when I was young. But I'll share this final story with you, then I got to get going. But I want to thank him. Best food anywhere. Come here, enjoy Manja Manj, or head over to Jimmy and Nino's. It's a slice of heaven. And if you want to start a tradition in your family, just come to the Strip. Believe me, there's something for everyone here. Whenever I need just to feel better, I come to the Strip. But so my grandmother's living with us. She's dying of cancer. And my dad loved my grandmother, who was my mother's mother. She got married at 14. My grandfather was 28. He was a Sicilian. Obviously, you know what killed him after all the stuff he did and ran around and this and that and the illegal gambling and everything? Lost everything in the house, including the furniture, in a gambling night of just drunkenness. And they basically had to go start over. But she divorced him in the late 50s. He was in his late 50s. He died within 5 years. He spent the rest of his time on this earth mourning the divorce. And he wasn't a nice guy at all times, okay? But it took her divorcing him that basically was the straw that broke. And you think this guy was, I got my freedom now, I can do what I want. It absolutely destroyed him. But anyway, my grandmother was the love of my life. She was like another mother because she was so young when I was growing up. So one day I'm in the kitchen and I'm stirring some Campbell soup. I'm like 16, 17, I don't know what I was. She was in the early stages of cancer and she went on to live for many years, but eventually it took her life. And when you can remember September of 1982, her dying, that gives you an idea how much she meant to me. But I'm stirring this soup, and she said, like, you're doing that wrong. And all I said was, oh, come on, shut up, Graham, I know. Now, my dad is in the other room, and he got injured in the war, so he had no hearing in the right side of his ear, and that ear is facing the kitchen. But that day, he had perfect hearing. Jimmy, when I tell you, it was like he was a ninja. I looked up, I saw just a flash of light, and he came probably 25 yards from that living room, that kitchen, slapped me upside the head. I'm down on the ground. He's coming in to finish me. I could see that big paw closing up, and I'm like, he's gonna knock me out. And my grandmother's like, Bob, don't. And he goes, I'm telling you right now, she goes, he didn't mean anything by it. And I felt more sad that I said that to my grandmother, because I would have never spoke like that. I don't know what made me do that. But that's the kind of respect that my dad, and he told me later, he said, I'm sorry I did that, but you don't understand. This woman worked 2 jobs. We had these big dinners. She gave you Christmases when I couldn't do Christmas. You don't have any idea. And even though you don't want that type of violence in your life, I'm kind of glad that I grew up the way I did, because my kids never had to see any of that. But it made me respect and work harder for them to understand, even though it doesn't always work out between mom and dad, family is everything. It's all you have.
It is. At the end of the day, if you don't have your family, you don't have anything.
Are you proud of your legacy, Jimmy? If you could have done anything different, would you have done anything different? Because you and your brother, and I'm not just loving on you because I love you, but when Joe Dentisi met you, and Joe meant everything to me, and we were riding back or together recording commercials or whatever we were doing, he went on and on about your family. That's when I knew, as I got to meet you through the years, that you were everything I thought you were, because he had that much respect for your family, and especially your dad. Loved your dad. But anyway, any regrets? Could you do it different? If you could, what would you do different? Anything?
The only thing I might have done different is spend more time with my children when they were growing up.
Yeah.
But, on the other hand, I was always at work, but my children always had what they needed.
Yeah, I know.
What they wanted.
That's what I tell
can
myself.
remember sending them on 2-week vacations to wherever they wanted to go, and I was down here on the Strip, and they were on some sunny beach somewhere. And I never regretted for a second that they were there and I was here.
I felt that was my worth, my manhood. I did the same thing, and eventually, it cost me, but where I would go home and sleep 2 hours a night just so I could do all the things with my kids and my wife that I should have been doing, sleeping 8 hours a night. But I gotta tell you, I'm cool with who I am now. I'm at peace with myself. I'd like to, get a little companionship, and that will happen. Believe me, it will happen. But I look at my children, how successful they are, and how well they're doing, and they have their mothers at their side. All's well that ends well. I look at it as a chapter that might not have had a happy ending at all times, but the journey was pretty happy because we had something that we could give them. We could provide for them. And to me, that's still what life's all about.
Well, Rob, I'll be honest with you. I never thought.
Nobody's ever seen Jimmy Sunseri like this. Believe me, you're lucky. This is a real treat. Go ahead.
And I'll deny it.
Yeah. Watch me. This tape will disappear, self-destruct. Anyway, go ahead.
I never aspired to be who you say I am.
Well, you are that person.
I
You're
never,
the face of the Strip. I don't care what anybody says.
I never tried to do that. In fact, I can remember the first time somebody said to me, "Oh yeah, you're Jimmy Sunseri. You do this, you do that, blah 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 blah." And I'm thinking, do I do that? I just never.
You help people, but just for someone who has had a lot of wonderful relationships with beautiful women, smart women, just driven women. Just when you lose hope, and when I was going through my last divorce and I was depressed and I'm thinking, how am I ever going to get back on track? I was at a place which will remain nameless. And this lovely woman who I've known since she was a teenager handed me a cup of coffee with both hands. And I know this sounds crazy, it was kind of like angelic. I took that coffee, and she's already spoken for, but it was just the idea of this wonderful woman who I have watched from a teenager turn into a beautiful mother and wife and just good people, the family. She happened to be Italian, gave me that coffee. I went, think I'm gonna stick around a little longer.
Well, I tell you what, Rob. There's a lot to be said about women getting into our hearts through our stomachs, be it coffee or cream puffs.
Cream puff.
Cream puffs. Best cream puffs I have ever tasted.
Where?
I can't divulge that, Rob.
Not to be confused with punchkis, but listen, I will tell you this. Here's my last meal. If they say, this is it, I'm getting some of the Checo pasta. I'm gonna have you do it. I'm gonna go get some of that fresh ground meat at Coons Market, roll me up some meatballs, get some of that Saloni's bread, and man, I'm gonna have a nice glass of wine, big bowl of spaghetti with some extra sauce, Gia Russa, and man, I'm a happy guy. I still think about as a kid, none of the glasses matched. They were jelly jars that we didn't throw out. All of the silverware, small, dent, bent, I mean, you name it. Nobody had paper plates because that was like unheard of. Plates with chips on them and this and that big pot on the stove, the bubbling sauce, and all of the burnt offerings still left around that pot from generations of enjoying spaghetti. Put the warming mitt on the table, cloth, pot down, and everybody just kept, and then you just ate together, laughed together so hard at times the milk would come through your nose. I hope heaven, if there is such a place, I can be around that table again with my 5 sisters. We and my mom and dad, we had so much fun. And I'm still looking for that fun. And some of the most joyous times, my kids at Eaton Park or, you know, with significant others and, you know, feeding your child Isley's chip chop ham in a high chair. Just, you know, the pets that have been in your life, but those holidays and hearing those voices. But that time in my life with the windows all frosted up because of the pasta being made on a cold winter night, you'd come home and you'd all sit around that table and basically had just enough room to bend your elbow to get the pasta in your mouth. And we would just tell stories and there'd be 10 conversations going on at one time. And being the only boy, I was rather spoiled, but boy, it was a magical time. And food really was a focal point of everything in my life.
Was there a more important social gathering point than the kitchen table?
Never. Never.
That's where it all happened.
Never. Listen, one of the last pictures of Joe Dentisi that I remember, him and Tony Renda. Tony, of course, the man behind Wish and so many other incredible things. I have a lot of respect for him. They were at the table and somebody took a picture of them and Joe was really sick. And I thought, what better place for a guy who's put so much food on the table of so many and now his children are doing it at Coons Market, being at that place with his buddy, same age, obviously part of that generation, post the greatest generation, who really, I don't think you realize what you've accomplished in your life or what Joe Dentisi accomplished in his life and what Jody and Frank and Patrice and son Joey and what they're carrying on today. I mean, I hope you understand all of the joy that you've brought people. And I try to tell the children of Joe and Janet. And you know, Joe said something to me that's still one of the most romantic things ever. And you're gonna laugh at this, but how he and his wife Janet one night split a beer. I know that's crazy, but I just...
Not if you're romantic.
You get it?
Yes, I do get it.
You know, that's probably why you and I get along so well, because we are romantic. And even though we've had our moments, I still think holding a girl's hand is a big deal. There's something about it. You know, I used to date this one girl that we would hook our little fingers in church together. And to this day, whenever I see my little finger, I think of that person.
Remember when?
Yeah. Listen, I can't thank you enough. So tell everybody a little bit about this place before we go and some of the things that you have in the way of offerings, then we're going to get out of here. Go ahead.
Well, of course we have pizza. Of course we have chicken parmesan. Of course we have pasta beyond your imagination.
Where'd you come up with the name at?
It only made sense.
Yeah, I know. Tell
What
everybody
do you
what
look forward to every single day? A beautiful night.
Yeah, man.
That's what it was.
Big bright moon under the Mediterranean sky, as Louis Prima used to sing.
You know, either that or a full moon over the Strip.
Come on, man. The Strip is... Heinz History Center, that giant ketchup bottle, my palm starts to sweat. We've got the home show. I can't wait to get down here to the convention center. Look, in another life, if I didn't want to stay close to my kids, I could have actually lived down here. I mean, there's something about downtown Pittsburgh, and I think of all the years and how blessed to have been at KDK and doing what I'm still doing to this day, and how I know that we are the soundtrack of this city. I've had a pretty good life, man, and so have you. I really don't have many regrets, other than maybe I should have slept a little bit more, but you know what? I always thought I was missing something.
Yeah, but you know what, Rob? Even when you were working more hours than you thought possible, I know in your mind, just like I did in my mind, I always told myself, sure, I'm tired. I'll get rest later. Now, whose fault was it that that later never came?
I know. But I gotta tell you, so I'm at Coons Market on Banksville today. I'm gonna close on this. I love the grocery business. I love everything about it. And to see that place busy today with people wanting that haddock fish sandwich, and we've got walleye this year. Those are Pittsburghers, and I get a chance to talk to them, and some recognize me, some I introduce myself to for the first time. Watching our help interact with customers, there's nothing better. And to think of that family now in the third generation with a lot of young people coming up. We got, you know, the one daughter's at Duquesne. We call her Catherine. I mean, it's exciting right now to be just a part of anything. But to see your nephew come in here as well, I'm so glad that he decided to stay the course, because I can't imagine life without Jimmy and Nino.
Well, thank you.
So what are you going to do the rest of today?
Well, since we've spoken so much about food, I'm going home to make myself something.
You still cook?
I do all the cooking. You know, one thing's for certain. When I get up in the morning, I don't know what I'm going to have at night.
Can I tell you, even though I worked a lot, you know what I love? I always had what they needed. Hey, Dad, can I get, Dad, hey, honey, Rob, yeah, here, I got you, I got it. Look, I used to go out and buy my crew like 100 cheeseburgers from McDonald's when I did television. I don't know if that's the Italian in me, but I love feeding people. I love taking care of people. You know, we're just, I would rather give than receive.
Well, you know, one thing about Italians, number one, if I'm eating, you have to eat. And if you come to the house,
I know.
I have to feed you. If I don't, I know I'm going to go to hell.
Listen, they don't got good bourgeois in hell, so you don't want to go to hell.
Not like Mom's.
No, I mean, I always thought that was an Italian dish. I don't know why, but it's not. It's not.
I don't know.
You like stuffed manicotti?
I love stuffed manicotti.
But pizza still, come on. But see, their pizza it's different. I mean, it's like biting into a cloud, but it's like a bolt of thunder when you take that first bite. It's something special, man.
I will say, I'm in love with the pizza. That's an unbiased comment. But I tell you what, Rob.
What?
On the short list, what's better than leftover pasta, reheated in a skillet with a little bit of olive oil, some extra sauce, and you have to put Locatelli Pecorino Romano on there. And you don't eat it off a plate. You grab a slice of bread or a bun, you make a spaghetti sandwich.
Listen, that was my dad's all-time favorite. Town Talk bread. He'd just scoop it right out and put it on the sandwich, fold it in half. And we never had hot dog buns. We had Town Talk bread. One slice, fold it in half. But, you know, it's funny you should mention that. I still think there's a market for somebody to have, like, spaghetti sandwiches. You know, aluminum foil, spaghetti sandwiches in the Strip. They're not going to compete with your pepperoni roll, but there's nothing like leftover spaghetti. You think it's because we just acquired a taste for it because it was such a part of our life growing up? But I absolutely love spaghetti sandwiches.
Well, you know, you say spaghetti sandwich to anybody today, the first thing they think of is, oh, that's so messy.
But that's half the fun.
Of course it is.
Standing over the sink. But you know what was the best? And I'll take it to my grave, and hopefully I have one more dance before it's over. But when I close my eyes, maybe for the last time, I'll see that woman giving me that cup of coffee. That's crazy, but that saved my life. She just came over. It was like the priest with the chalice, you know what I mean? And she just went, here, Rob.
Well, my life was saved by the cream puffs.
You know what?
Believe me.
Come on, give me a break, will you?
I'm telling you, this cream puffs changed my life.
Is that the one I'm not allowed to mention?
Yes.
Okay. Listen, come to the Strip early and often. He's the face of the Strip. He and his brother and now nephew, Jimmy and Nino's, and of course across the street, Bella Notte, love it. And they do catering too. You know what? One thing I want to do before I die. I want to get in. I don't want to have one unless it's the right one, because, you know, I still believe in love. My son, we're at Chipotle's one day, and he looks at me and he said, Dad, you're not going to do this again, are you? And I said, what? I said, you want me to be alone the rest of my life? I still believe in romance. I still believe in holy matrimony. I do. I mean, I think it works. I just was going at a warp speed for most of my life. But I want to be invited to one more good wedding, you know, like at an American Legion or a VFW or Sons of Italy, like on a Saturday afternoon and the air conditioning goes bad. And it's like 105 degrees in the shade and everybody's got their coats off. They're doing the tear and tell. And I don't want a DJ. I want like a live band, and I want big vats of rigatoni and chicken, and I just want to sit there with a cold beer and just watch it unfold. One more time, you know, the young couple in their mid-20s, both with good jobs, and actually looking into each other's eyes lovingly and getting a handful of almonds and just saying, this is what I was put on the earth for. There's nothing better than a good wedding.
Isn't that something, though, that we can dwell supreme happiness by watching someone else experience it?
Yeah, man.
The first true happiness of their life.
Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, I think about the beautiful women who I was married to, and they're still breathtaking. They're intelligent, they're smart, they're successful. But whenever I see them, and it's rare, I go back to that day when, you know, it was that moment in time. And even though it didn't work out, I don't think I'd change anything, Jimmy. To be here with you at this age and healthy on the right side of the dirt and sitting with you in the Strip and looking at you reborn, that gives me hope that anything's possible, because I'll be honest with you, I wasn't so much thinking you were going to be around much longer after I saw you the first few times. Especially, we were at a funeral one night. I can't even remember whose funeral in Lawrenceville, and you were sitting the entire time, and I was like thinking, dear God, you know, but man, whatever they've done for you, you look absolutely fantastic.
Well, I think it's a matter of who I've surrounded myself with
Yeah.
more than anything else.
It's all about attitude, isn't it?
100%. You know, Rob, I miss so very, very much the camaraderie and the friendships
Me too.
from, you know, all the people I've known down here. But it doesn't get any better.
You know, I was with some of the, as I call them, the young guns in this business not too long ago, and I'm looking at all of them. And I'm just so excited. I love to see their careers grow, young families. But they figured it out. Where I was all about work, in work more than I was at home, they have figured out how to balance. And somebody who I have a lot of respect for used to always talk about balance. Somebody who's kind of leading the way now, a couple of them, all about balance. I see they've been able to do it. So my word to anybody young who's watching this, who may be thinking about, you know, that next step of their career, no matter what you're doing, you got to have balance. I'm not saying you got to be home all the time, but something Joe Dentisi told me before he died. And I would say to him all the time, I go, Joe, 'cause I went to all of his, you know, transfusions and chemo treatments. I mean, because, you know, business had to keep rolling. I wanted to be there for him because I loved him like a dad. And we would have these great conversations. And I always used to say, Joe, you got to tell me what the secret to a good relationship is. Come on, I need you to tell me. So this went on and on and on. But we're going through like chemo and stuff for a year. And I would always ask him, tell me, tell me. So I'm in his bedroom one night, and it's kind of like the scene, you know, out of The Godfather. Just very dark, and just a little lamp on in the corner, and it's me, and he kind of summons me to the bedside. And he goes, I'm going to tell you what the secret is. And he said, are you ready? I said, yeah, tell me. He said, when you say you're going to be home at 7 o'clock for dinner, be home at 7 o'clock. You have to go back out. That's okay. So I said, you know what, Joe? I said, I said, what? I said, I waited for, this is what you're telling me is the secret to a relationship?
I wish Joe would have told me that.
So now listen, I'm driving home. And street lights, one after another. So it's like fade to black, like pictures being taken. And I'm looking at my eyes, and each time the light shines on my eyes again, they're starting to well up. Because I realized how many nights. I'm on my way. I'm coming. I'll be there. Just wait. And no matter how much money, no matter how much you play with your kids, no matter how many nights that you lose sleep. And look, Joe didn't eat till late at night. He worked really hard, just like his daughter does, just like both of them do, just like his son does. They all work hard. But there's certain things that you have to live up to. And when you tell someone who is the mother of your child or the father of your child, I'm going to be there, you got to be there.
Well,
I'm better, much better now, but for years I was always going to another job, chasing the next job, because I always thought there wouldn't be a job. And you can't live your life like that.
well, growing up when I was much younger, I would literally see my father once a week. And that was because he was working 7 days a week. He would leave in the morning before I got up, and he would come home after I'd already fallen asleep. That's why Sunday dinners
Were important.
they were mandatory.
Listen, my dad went to bed every night at 7 o'clock, got up at 4:30. We didn't play catch, no kumbaya. We didn't sit and watch television together. He'd come home, 4:30, he would eat, then he'd have to go out and cut grass, do all this other stuff, change the oil in the car, blah, 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 hear all the problems of the day. And I can't tell you how many times he'd walk in the door and my mother would say, and he'd say, he did what? Could I at least sit down before I hear whatever? Have a couple of drinks, go to sleep. But Sundays, we went to church, we went to my grandmother's, we spent time together. I never thought anything of it. But you can't live that way today. You've got to be more balanced. You got to have family meals. I think there are ways. My dad always asked me, what'd you do at work today? What are you doing at work tomorrow? There's more to life than work, although I love it because it's given me the opportunity to do all these wonderful things for my family. But I hope, and I see it with these young people today, they have figured out how to balance things out a little bit better than our generation. But to be Jimmy Sunseri and to have that building across the street, or this one, or the properties, or whatever, the secret sauce, if you will, or what I've been able to do, work at KDKA. I mean, I've been listening to KDKA since I got that Westinghouse transistor radio, Christmas 1967. We've lived a good life, but hopefully every generation learns a little bit more, and they do it a little bit better. But
Yes.
you got to have money, you got to have a career. You don't get things unless you work. You just have to figure a way to balance it out a little bit. And I think you've figured it out. I mean, you're going home and cook, and it's a little bit after 4 as we're live to tape. In the old days, you'd have just been starting to get ready for tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. If I don't have anything else left in me, I can still cook.
Yeah, you can cook. That's because it comes from the heart. My man,
heart.
I love you,
Love you,
brother.
Rob.
I know you do.
No, I love you. No, I value your friendship.
Only a few people through this Kennywood roller coaster, you've been there, and I'm very grateful for that. So come and see this man, come and enjoy Manjaman, some of the great food. But the Strip, no one does it better. You can take a good look at him because I'm a one-man band. I got to go push the button to shut this thing off. Have a great day, everybody. Ciao.